Haoko called direction. Daosakisha called companion, fellow passenger. Ningen Kanki called human relationship. Umadasu called to create, to generate. Nagoyakana called gentle, peaceful, harmonious. Akarui called cheerful, bright. Okosama Zur called with children. Yui Suru called to prepare. Suza called operation. Kureisha called elderly people, senior citizens. Kurumesu called wheelchair. Taiko for you called per physical condition. Kanchigai wo suru called to misunderstand, make a mistake. Kakunan called confirmation. Kinsen called money. Yukwadashi called delivery, handover. Kufu called ingenuity, creative effort. Kanri called management, control. Juban called sufficient, enough. Teiji called presentation, showing. Motomeru called to ask, request, seek. Kamemasan called no problem. Ninitaishu called certificate. Tekisetsu na called appropriate proper. Sumiyakani called prompt, quick. Tian called suggestion, proposal. Fresh. Ondotai called temperature zone. Canton called point of view. Muda called wasteless, waste. Mayasu called standard. Shitaga called to follow, obey. Isaju called for hygiene. Hugan called expression. Nakami called contents. Nihongo called Japanese. Arautani called plain. Isu no Hiryo called further consideration. Hyuka called evaluation, assessment. Tainei called carefully. Jakyu called condition, status. Yakan called matter, thing to be done. Eizuchi Oatsu called to give feedback. Renrakusaki called contact information. Bushusaki called material, substance. Kotsuatsu Teika called lower blood pressure. Ishiki Shushistu called loss of conskouneosis. Shianai Ataru called led to death. Shakamoto's called food. Wariai called percentage, ratio. Nanrei called age. Yakuna called effective. Chiryuhahu called method of treatment. Jiu called important. Kakoshoken called processed food. Joe called information. Jinzeryu, Zairyu called raw materials, ingredients. Hakru called, understand. Toa Ways called inquiry. Meiwaku called trouble inquiry. Sekinincha called responsible person. Jiazoshu called brewed liquor. Joryushu called distilled liquor. Kubo called yeast.